Hey, and welcome to Downtown, map 13 of Doom 2. So the first thing we're going to do here is grab the armor bonuses behind us. I'm also going to point out there is no huge arrow here. I shouldn't have to point that out, but as you'll see when we get to the retail release of this level, they decided to put a giant arrow in, and I can only guess that's because this level is confusing as heck. If you've ever played the Ultimate Doom and you've played Mount Erebus, then you probably liked it because it's not overly confusing. Even though there's a lot going on and a lot of places you can go, it's quite well designed. So Sandy Peterson obviously saw that feedback and was like, what if I put that in a city area? And what we end up with is an ugly ass level here. Now, this level is dog ugly for me. It's just big buildings with single blocks of textures on them, and they reach into the sky, and I don't know. This room here, for example, this is a trap room where a bunch of pinkies are going to come in, and we're going to have to deal with all these pinkies. So I'm going to use the rocket launcher here. I'm going to use it like at a distance to try and minimize my pain. One thing that is very different in this level is that a lot of the enemy placements have been changed. So I'm playing this on Ultraviolence, but this is the beta version of this level. There are a lot more Arachnotrons and Bony Boys poking around in the final version of this level. So interestingly, this beta version is actually a lot easier. So normally we'd be getting swarmed by Arachnotrons by this point. We're going to head up here because this is where the chain gun is. So one thing about this level, much like Mount Erebus, there's a lot of optional areas. And whether you go to all these optional areas is completely up to you. And whether you think what's in those optional areas is worth it is completely up to you as well. But my problem with this level is that a lot of the areas that you're sent to explore in, so like the areas that you kind of have to go sniffing around in, it's just not fun. Like, it's usually just like one big room where you kind of do something and you get the weapon. It's like there was no real thought put into kind of elevating the design here. So for example, we'll kill that Cacodemon there. It just feels like this level was like a first draft. It was thrown in here, and the layout of the level doesn't change all that much, but the enemy placements do change. So this is kind of like the square area here. This is where like a lot of the sort of like fighting will occur, because a lot of the enemies will congregate here as you move around the level. But the thing for me is that you kind of have to sniff out the way forward in this level. Like, we're coming in here now. I know this is where you're meant to come, because after so many years of playing Doom, it becomes second knowledge where to go. But for a new player, you're pretty much expected to go exploring all the level to find the way forward, and you may not even find it for like a good half an hour if you're really taking your time going through this level. It's kind of confusing, and there's a lot of design choices in this level that really frustrate me, because for the longest time I would get lost in this level. I would not know which direction to go in, because you forget to go down one path and then you get sent back to the start of the level and you have to do everything all over again, because that's the way this level is designed. And we'll see that in a minute when we head towards the blue key. But things like this, for example, why is there a box? Why is there like a mini box crate area here? Like, it just adds to the confusion. But as I said earlier on, you have to come in this direction. But the thing is, you wouldn't know that unless they put a giant arrow outside the area pointing in this direction. And that for me just underlines that the level's design here just failed. To add to the confusion, in this area here, there's 3 ways out. There's through that teleporter there, there's down that hole there, or there's this hole here. Now this is the correct hole here, but if you wander into the teleporter up there, which is the likely option new players are going to take, I think it kicks you back to where the blue door is. And it's like, new players will probably do that and then think, well, there's nothing else in that room, so they're going to get lost. Also, notice the dodgy texture at the top there. Misaligned texture mixed into the final retail version of the game. But for me, a new player will go into that room, they'll only see the teleporter, they'll get lost, and then like they'll just go wandering around the level and they just will not know where to go. And this isn't like Mount Erebus. So Mount Erebus, like, you can see a lot of the level just by walking around. But because the buildings here are so tall, and because there's, like, there's nothing distinguishing about these buildings. They're all just big, ugly brown, like, blocks of texture. I'm trying to take down these imps here. You end up kind of not being able to tell landmarks apart. It's so weird, this level, and it makes me wonder if this was designed and they were just kind of like, it's good enough, and then they, like a week or so before release, they were like, oh god, we've actually got to make this level more coherent. So this is where you drop down to if you drop down one of those wrong holes we were talking about earlier. But you see, now we've got to make our way all the way back to so that we can get to the blue door. And this is my big bugbear with this level, and I think this is why it's my least favourite Doom 2 level. It's just too abstract for its own good. It tries to recreate like a real space, a real city environment, and what it ends up doing is just creating a level where you've got a zigzag crisscross across the level, and you've just got to kind of hope you find your way forward. So we'll go in here, and we'll head around here. You'll notice as well there's no bony boys on this platform, it was imps. So that was another change made for this version. Oh, okay, there's chain gunners in here. Normally there's just lost souls in here, but I'm guessing that this was where the challenge was. They wanted to make this part of the level a bit more difficult. I recommend grabbing that invulnerability if you can. This area doesn't really change all that much into the final part, into the final retail release either. I don't know, I think this level really pushes what you should really be aiming to do in a Doom engine game. I just think that this doesn't... I think that there's just a lot of shortcomings in this level that add up to a very frustrating experience. And here comes another one. So we'll shoot the spectres here. We're going to shoot the imps up here. Now, this lift here will only come down when we're stood right next to it. We have to be stood in this area for the lift to come down. It is the slowest lift in all of human history. And we have to wait for it to come all the way down, and then we got to go all the way back up. And you already can see the problem here. If you want to grab all the items on the left there, you've got to come back up twice. So you've actually got to do this ridiculously slow lift ride twice. I mean, there's no reason to like put the player through that twice, but again, a lot of decisions were made with this level that, while I admire the ambition, and I do admire the ambition, what's the lava on the floor, on the roof ceiling there for? There's just a lot of things about this level that really just rub me the wrong way, and I find it very hard to be positive about this one. Interestingly, this level does not make it into the PlayStation 1 version of Doom 2. I don't know if that's because they deemed it too big, or if they deemed it just not a good enough level. I kind of hope it's the latter, because, you know, if I could make a Doom compilation like that, I would probably not put this level in either. So here's a little secret room. This is one of the nicer secrets in this level, because you'll wander in here, there's a bunch of ammo, but you also could get ambushed by all the Caco demons there, so, you know, there's a positive for you. I do admire the ambition of this level, I do, but these ugly ass buildings, and the thing is, like, with WODs since this level, it's like people have found ways to make this work. I don't understand. And what's with this ending room? Like, it's the same. The factory had the same kind of thing here. Was like the hole in the floor like the thing they were trying to use for this? I don't know. It's just, for me, it just doesn't work as a level downtown. I just don't think it's, even in the beta level here, which is significantly easier than the final level, as you'll see in a second. I just don't think it's a good level, and I don't enjoy it, and I rush through it as quickly as I can. So now let's do the final retail version of a level here. There is no PS1 version of this level, but interestingly there is a Game Boy Advance version. So you'll instantly notice the arrow. Now, again, that's not a small arrow, that's a giant ass arrow pointing at the direction you're supposed to go. So someone playtested this level and went, look, we know that you've like built this big ass level that's confusing as heck and you want to confuse the player. Grand Sandy, do you mind putting an arrow in? I just wish I was there for that conversation, because I can guarantee he probably didn't want to put the arrow in. So this level is actually significantly harder in the retail version, because you've got all these bony boys here and you've got all these arachnotrons wandering around the level. They will just chase you and shoot you. So the best thing to do is just to get out of the line of sight and do what you got to do to get out of their way. Okay, so they're all waiting for me out here. I'm going to go and grab this invulnerability, I think. I do want to thin out the herd. Oh my god, I really want to thin out the herd here. I'm going to have to activate this earlier than I did last time. So you can see this all hasn't changed all that much. The texture work in here has changed a bit, but you know, as we saw in the factory, like they probably didn't have this texture ready to go at this point. Again, I welcome my favourite level in Ultimate Doom is Mount Erebus. So I like this kind of level, and I want to appreciate this level for what it's trying to do. I just don't think it does a very good job. I think this is a very poor follow-up to Mount Erebus, being totally honest. I need ammo. I need ammo and I need a shotgun. So we're going to follow the arrow now and do what we're told. So again, we're back in here. This room hasn't changed all that much, even if at all. Still gotta shoot your way through the pinkies and the imps. I'm very interested to hear what people think about this level in the comments, because when I'm doing these like playthroughs like this, I generally try to give my very honest opinion on these levels, and I try to be positive with constructive criticism. But with this level, I just find it so tedious, and this is probably the low point for Doom 2 for me personally. Like, this level just does not. It's one of those levels where if I know it's coming up, I'm just going to do what I need to do to get through it, and then we don't talk about it again. Although this time you can see I've got a lot more shotgun ammo here, so that's good. Same 3 imps here, same 3 exits that you can take. And of course, I'm not saying that, like, you know, this is a disgustingly bad level. What I'm saying is that for me personally, I don't think this level achieves what it wants to achieve. And why did no one fix that texture? It bothers me. I don't know why, it just bothers me. Anyway, let's take out these arachnotrons. The arachnotrons really do add to the difficulty of this level. They make it so much more difficult to sort of get around the streets. It really does add to that feeling that, like, they've invaded Earth and they've taken over this city because they're patrolling the city, they're doing the job. So I'll give it this. The retail version of this level at least makes baby steps to improving the mess that I think this level is. Probably should have brought some rockets here to do this, but you know, not a problem. I also, okay, so another positive I'll give this level. I do like the imps in the cage, in the walls idea. I think it's really cool because I think that it adds a bit of danger to these areas, because otherwise these areas would be so dull and bland. But like on the higher difficulties, you've got imps shooting out the windows at you, and you're kind of like, oh no, I've got to dash through. Especially when you've got like mid-tier enemies like the cacodemons and the arachnotrons blasting away at you. Like they can really take you down if you're not careful. So I will give that to this level as well. Don't think the fist affects the Arachnotron, does it? No. I think one of the big problems with this level is that because everything's so unremarkable, like players will be coming in here like 2, 3, 4 times because they'll go into the wrong exit out of this area. They won't grab the blue key. They'll miss the blue key, and I just think this is a very uninspired area to kind of keep coming back into. It's just grey and it's nothing memorable going on here. It's one of those areas in Doom 2 where there's a lack of detail, and the texture work just does not complement that lack of detail at all. As you can see, there's no chain gunners in here, so that's good. So how would I have improved this level? Well, I'm no level designer, but maybe I wouldn't have made all the levels, all the buildings in like the city area look like the same. I would have either used different textures, I would have used different sort of ways to indicate that the buildings are different from each other. Because from a distance, and especially on the Game Boy Advance version, the Game Boy Advance version of this level is horrible to look at. So the thing with the Game Boy Advance version of Doom 2 is that once a texture is kind of out of your instant vision, your instant viewpoint in front of you, it sort of loses detail dramatically. And so what this level ends up looking like, it just looks like one big brown and green sludge pile, and yeah, it's one of those things where I would have personally made the buildings more distinctive. I probably would have put the player pointing up the stairs, to be honest. I wouldn't have even bothered putting them where the level starts you, because if you put them there, there's like so many directions the player can go in, and if they wander off in like if they go to the right, for example, they're not going back for like a good 10-15 minutes if they're new to this level, because they're going to find areas like this and they're going to sort of get into fights, they're going to get stuck, they're going to get annoyed. The basis for a good level is here. I just don't think this level achieves that. So I've got the red key here. So again, we're going to tackle this elevator. The obnoxious elevator. So the imp's just hitting me from above there. Need to be careful of that. So we've got the yellow key here. The only room we really need to go looking at again is that Cacodemon room, which I'll go and do now. Take down the imps here first, though. Imagine being those imps. All you ever know is that window. I think we've got all the imps. I don't think there's any more left in this level, like in the windows. So let's go back to the where we got the blue key from, and then let's just have a look at that Cacodemon room before we head off. As mentioned, there isn't a PS1 version of this level. It was excluded from that version of the game. Oh, come on, that's me. Okay, calm down. So PS1 players are spared this level. They go straight to the inmost ends, which, you know, much better level than this one. But I have to be honest, this is probably my least favourite Doom 2 level by a bit of a margin. I just do not like this one, and the truth is, like, if I could skip it, I would. And I don't know, like I said, it's a level that I find very hard to praise, outside of its ambition and outside of the clear decision to change the end room again. I think this is a level that's got some very frustrating design choices. It's not particularly strong, and I think that a lot of players agree in that this is probably one of the weakest Doom 2 levels. Definitely not one you'd want to play through multiple times unless you really have to. But thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of Downtown. Am I wrong? You could say I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments, and thank you very much for watching.